Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Emmy-nominated actor Melvin Jackson Jr. is our featured guest today. Melvin will talk about balancing acting, comedy, and writing and producing, as well as some of his incredible athletic achievements.
Melvin Jackson Jr., welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Melvin, you've done so much in so many different areas. We may need to make a series out of this. But first, let's talk sports.
Okay.
I was actually a cross-country track coach when I taught in high school. So I'd love to know more about how you started running and how that turned into 2 gold medals for track and field. I think the 1500, maybe the 300 meter.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was overseas in, I think in Turkey, and I was, doing cross country first and kind of just got into it. I don't really know how, but, was at school, did cross country and did pretty good in it, long distance, got a lot of first place awards. And then track and field was the next step. And so I was doing track and field. Once again, long distance was my thing as well, and just started training and became good at it. And I just had a method that I would run, and then at the last 100 was when I would go and put all my energy, everything, and that's kind of how I win my race, because most people would just kind of pace themselves, but I would save that little bit of energy, almost like that engine that could, and just took off from there. And that's kind of how it was for me.
That's great, but especially with long distance, any kind of running in sports, not just endurance, but a lot of practice. And I was proud that I was a coach about 3 or 4 years, and they finally got better. But the improvement was slow. But I got to be honest, I took them out for wings afterwards. I think I had the only track team ever to gain weight during the season. But really enjoyable, but I just know how tough it is. I ran track. I wasn't really good, but I ran track in high school also. And it takes so much dedication and determination. So what did it work out? What was it with a team? Did you do a lot of things on your own? What was that like? Well,
a lot of team. I think we probably had practice maybe every day or so. And we had a, coach that just really was, wasn't too hard on us, but just pretty much like you put in the work, you see the rewards, so for me, it's about training your body to have the endurance to be able to do something. The more you do it, the less it becomes like you have to remember. It's muscle memory. So for me, it was just muscle memory. Even to this day, like recently, I ran a 1.5 miles, and just kind of I didn't want to train. I didn't want to do anything, just to see. I'm 41 now. Just wanted to see what I could do. It wasn't nowhere near my time, of course, when I was in high school, but it was just like to do that cold turkey was amazing. So it was I did the same thing that last 100 meter and I almost died. And I was like, okay, yeah, next time I will train.
Sure. So when you say cold turkey, do you mean you don't really run it anymore at all, even for exercise?
No, I don't really run. I would run the treadmill here and there, but now more so for cardio stuff. I do Krav Maga, so I'm doing a lot of that, cardio with that, but I don't do a lot of running. Because it's on your knees. You kind of, if you've been running for so long, your knees can kind of have problems. I'm glad I don't have those issues, but definitely if I do run, I would love to run on a track because it's better on your knees than concrete.
Right. So what you just mentioned before, that wasn't was that a martial art you just mentioned?
Yes. Yeah, it was. Yes.
I have a nephew that does that. Outstanding. Yeah, I'm hearing that phrase a lot lately. So in doing research and learning more about you, I really had to do my homework, because there's so many different things. I had to make sure it wasn't wrong, because there's so many various things. I remember that when I was the track coach, the basketball coach wanted some of the basketball players to at least work out with us and really change their endurance on the court. But as if being a world-class runner wasn't enough, you also, I think, won a bronze medal in wrestling.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you excel in 2 such very different sports?
I was interested. I was been watching wrestling since I was a kid. So of course WWF or WWE, whatever you want to call it now, is different from the actual wrestling. So I took a liking to it, and I tried it out my first year. I trained, and no one thought anything. No one thought, it was just like, they didn't expect anything. Not say from me, but just your first year, you're not expecting too much. But my first year, I excelled, and just like anything, I put in the work, and I was undefeated for a while, and I was, pretty much, I would say I was undefeated maybe 6 or 7 matches in, and I would have it to where, for me, I was about intimidation, and I would get in my mindset, like you said something about my mom, and I would just, have this look on my face where people like knew I meant business. And I had one person like forfeit, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And then it was like, I remember my loss came from this kid whose father was like, a world-class wrestler. So he put me in a small package. And that's one of those things where, if if you don't know how to get out of it, it's hard to get out of it. And it wasn't until later on I figured out how to get out of it. But of course, it was too late, but I was mad about that because I couldn't get out of it. And so that was my first loss. And then my other loss happened in the championship, where I thought that, I was good enough to just, kind of breeze through. And the people that I had beat were training to beat me. But I wasn't training to stay undefeated or stay, not undefeated, but to beat them. And so I lost those matches. And that will let me to getting a bronze. I could have got a silver or gold had I trained, but I lost, I think, like 1 or 2 matches. So that for me was like, okay, could never take my foot off the gas again, because it's no one likes to lose, but for me that was tough. And with wrestling, you have to kind of make weight, and so that was always a difficult thing because it was hard for me to gain weight. So now I have to lose weight to make sure I stay in in the weight class that I'm supposed to be in. So it was like starving yourself, running, and but I loved it. I mean, wrestling, I still have keep that in the back of my mind of the techniques I using the Krav Maga as well. It's all, you kind of use certain techniques that you use with other things, and the certain things you use now. So,
but before we get into your incredible acting roles, what can you tell us about, you're also an author too, because wrestling and running wasn't enough for you. So tell us about the children's book you wrote with your wife, Emmy-nominated actress Kelly Jeanette.
Jenrette. Yeah, Jenrette. Right. Well, that came about because I had an idea for a cartoon, maybe 99, 2000, and I got with a friend of mine to trying to like write out my ideas. So I was always wanting to pitch a cartoon. So then when me and my wife got together, many years later, I showed her the drawings, and she loved it. And she was like, okay, I'm on board with it. And then one morning she woke up and she was like, why don't we do it as a book first? And I was like, great. She was like, we do it as a book, get, see what the response is. And then we can now take it and probably pitch it into a cartoon. So that's what we came up with Jimmy the Fly, and we started sitting down and writing out the whole plan, because the whole idea was he got lost. He got hit his head getting, he got amnesia from playing hide and go seek with his friends. So that's kind of where it started from. And then it's like, okay, what's next? So we just sat down and did it. And it's one of those things where you think a children's book is easy, but you have to kind of think about, these are for kids. So things you would, kind of say as an adult, you kind of have to now bring it back down to their level to make sure that they understand it in, the age group that you're targeting. So it was definitely a great experience. And, we're looking to try to do part 2, but I definitely want to still see it as a cartoon. So that's the overall goal for that.
What are the messages in that book?
Well, pretty much that that back now is a little different. Back in the days, you could depend on a stranger to help you find your way, or to help take you in if you're lost. You kind of had people that would the kind of community that would just be okay with you can't find your mom and dad. Okay, let me help you out. Let me get you help, and and so someone will take you in. And I think it's different now because it's a different society now. So it's kind of like you have to certain messages now that you would have maybe 10 plus years ago. You kind of have to cater them a little differently. And that was something that was brought up by school, where they don't want the kids to be okay to go with strangers, but it's like that's not what the message is. It's just saying that you can find a friend in anybody. And it even talks about different things. We'll deal with bullying as well, where people will come to their aid. when it comes to bullying. So yeah, just certain messages that we want to tackle. But now that we understand we have to even implement a little bit more messages, we'll do that in the second go round.
That's great. And is it self-published or do you have a publisher?
Self-published. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on barnesandnobles.com. So yeah, that's, we want to do that aspect and see how that goes. And, it's a lot more work, as you know. But we'll see if the second one we decide to go with a publisher or just kind of stay the self publishing course.
Right. And it's great that you work with your wife, but weren't you and Kelly nominated for an award the same year?
Yes, the Emmy Award. We became the first African-American married couple to be nominated in the same year.
That's huge. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's big. So now, your writing process doesn't end with children's books. You also wrote, produced, and starred in the web series, The Eddie Murphy Role Is Mine, Not Yours. What made you come up with that concept?
Well, for years, people kept saying I look like Eddie Murphy, and I was like, okay, great. And I auditioned for a role as Eddie Murphy in the Whitney Houston movie, and I didn't get it. So I just had a running joke. It's like, man, what if I could take out all my competition, and that way I get the role? So, as an actor, you're like, man, you're going against everybody, and it started out as a short film. And I wrote it out, and then I had somebody interested in it, and that didn't know what happened, and then years later, I'm sitting at the Creative Television Emmys, and a friend of mine wins for a web series, and I was like, maybe I should turn this into a web series. So I decided to cut the short film up into 6 episodes and present it as a web series, and that's what happened. We campaigned, and I got nominated for Emmy, and now that 6-part web series is now a 2-part mini series on Amazon, Tubi, Freebie, that you can watch now, and it's definitely a labor of love because I was able to do season 2, so I put season 1 and season 2 together. Because I didn't want to do season 2, but I was like, unfinished business. Let's do it, because I was able to book a role to actually play Eddie Murphy in a series on it's called The Price of Fame. And that's available on Tubi as well as I'm losing track of the network that it's on, but hopefully come back to me. But yeah, you can definitely watch The Price of Fame. It deals with different celebrities in there, in a kind of like a docu-series.
Did you have to mimic his the way he moved, the way he talked? Was it that kind of role?
Yes, I mean it was very fast paced. So I feel like I've been preparing for something my whole life. So it'll be sometimes where I'm even doing an audition for certain things, and people was like, more Melvin, less Eddie, and I'm not even noticing that I'm doing it, just because I've been emulating him since I was as a kid. So it's one of those things you have to kind of separate sometimes. But as somebody I definitely look up to and pay homage to.
I'm quite confident that in your private time you have definitely impersonated the donkey from Shrek. Am I wrong or am I right?
I try to get the voice. I love Shrek. It's so funny.
I'm sure you did. Boy, I'm just thinking about that also. So do you think, to your knowledge, does Eddie Murphy have knowledge about those projects that you've done where you've portrayed him?
I was told he does, or I know people that are close to him that were going to show him. I know his family members have seen it for sure. Yeah, because one of his cousins actually told me, and 2 of his cousins. And then it's just somebody, Debbie Allen, saw it, and she was like, "I'm going to Eddie's house today. I'm going to show it to him." So I'm sure that he's aware of it, and definitely of the series, docu-series that I was a part of, because I heard he had to sign off on it. So I think he's aware. He's aware. We'll eventually. I met him before, but we haven't met since all of the other stuff that I've done involving him. So hopefully we'll get a chance to sit down and have a bite to eat and talk and just pick his brain.
Sure, that'd be great. Speaking about all the acting you've done, you were part of the tremendously successful HBO series The Wire. And I think you and I had spoke previously. I had Liso Dingwall as a guest on my show, and he was actually the character who killed Omar.
Yes.
And so what an iconic role, what an iconic show to be on. What was it like being part of such a huge show?
It was amazing, just because that was one of my favorite shows, and I was just like, man, I have to get on the show. And it wasn't, I didn't get on the show in the beginning how I wanted to. And that was, as a speaking role, actually was reached out to, I submitted and they reached out to me to be an extra. And I was like, well, how much is it paying? And I was like, I get paid. I was saying to myself, I get paid more than my job. And I passed like maybe 3 times. And the fourth time I was like, you know what? Maybe this is God testing me. I don't know. Let me just go ahead and do it. And I'm glad that I did, just because it allowed me to just see the start point of everything. You get when you're an extra or background actor, as they want to call it, you get to just see everything, from the camera people, everything, because you're not focusing on having to, roles, lines to memorize. You're just really there and you're just observing. And so for me, I soaked up everything. I saw what everybody was doing. And then I got to also connect with, some of the actors, and Wood Harris was one of the people that I really connected with, because I was also managing artists at the time. And so we connected on a music thing, because, he does music. And so we exchanged numbers, and then I began to start after that auditioning for the show. So I auditioned about 15 times before I finally landed the role of Bernard, after a callback, and a casting director, before I went inside, Pat Moran, she said, "You got this. Just do exactly what you did before. You got this." And I felt like this role was for me, just because I embodied it, and I went in there and I did what I needed to do, and I got a call. I was at work and said, "You got the role," and the rest was history. And then come to find out that I'm part of Avon Barksdale crew, played by Wood Harris, was full circle moment. So it was definitely a true blessing to be a part of an iconic show, and us to be family, and people to still talk about this show to this day. So it's definitely a true honor and blessing to be a part of this legacy.
Yeah. It's certainly huge. And yes, it definitely is a legacy. And I want to say, oh God, 35, 40 years ago, when I lived in Florida, my sister and I were extras in a movie. I think it was called Funhouse. And I'm telling you, all we did was we pulled up with other cars to the carnival to go in the Funhouse, open the door, walked in. And I don't have to tell you this, 4 hours. Like 4 hours. Who the hell would do this? I don't even have a line. It's 4 hours, and we didn't get the food, but you saw the tent where the bigger actors were, and eating their little buffets and everything. So it's, we often on the show, I talk about that people know the glory but not the story, and how, you say you auditioned 15 times, people think they see you at a mall. Oh my God, I've got to have you, Melvin. That kind of thing, and it's very difficult. So what struggles did you have to overcome to be successful in the entertainment business?
You pretty much have to have a strong willpower to fail. And, when you fail, it's like, okay, what do you do? Do you mope about it? Do you get up, brush yourself off, try again? And for me, it was like, failure is not an option. If I feel like failure for me is giving up and not continuing to try. And like, the 15 times was, people don't even behind the scenes. Like, I was like, man, I'm not going back up there. They call me again. I'm not going back up there. But what I was missing, the point is, yes, it's 15 times you're auditioning, but that if they keep calling you back, there's obviously something in you that they see that they want to keep seeing and finally get a role for you, because the roles I auditioned for wasn't nowhere near on the level of the role that I received. So it was a blessing, but and I think sometimes people get tired, like, oh man, I got to audition for the show 15 times, but you finally landed it. So if you got to audition 15, 20 times, like for me, I auditioned several times for The Shield before they finally like, we want to book you for something. But it was just, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it. But it was just, one of those things you have to start looking at, how many times they keep calling you back, opposed to they like you. That's a good thing. When they stop calling you, that's when you should worry. And so for me in my career, I'm just like, how can I reinvent myself? How can I, not say quote unquote, be relevant, but sometimes in this business, when people don't see you, they forget about you. So how can I continue to keep the conversation going? That means I have to constantly have things going on in a way that necessarily not just saying, hey, look what I'm doing. It's like, no, I'm doing something, whether it's me hosting something, whether me doing comedy, whether me DJing, whether it's something, you're never going to forget me or forget my name, not because I'm a pest, but because I'm a resilient person, and I'm a hard worker. And that's what you're going to remember, like, oh, this person was very respectable, never caused any issues, and my work speaks for itself.
Well, that's an excellent answer. And I've done enough of these shows where A lot of people give the same type of answer. So that's depending upon the mindset of the viewer who might want to go into the entertainment business. That's either a great answer or a bad answer, because what you're saying is you have to fail. You have to be okay with failure. You know, that one yes could change your life forever, but a lot of perseverance, and you know, it just isn't easy. So what advice would you give to young people interested in a career in entertainment?
I say do the homework. I mean, because people have to look at, you know, some people want to be actors, and that's great, but there's so many people trying to be actors. Why not be something behind the scenes? Why not try to be a producer, director, or something that, you know, you can always do the acting, but I feel like you have to lay down the foundation so that you can have something to stand on. Because if you try to just go for being an actor, now you're becoming wanting to be work for hire. Why not be the one that hires people? Why not be the ones to create the job, so that one, you can create jobs for you and your friends? So now you are now powerful, opposed to just being an employee in a company. Why not create a company? And I think that's what I tell people. I said, do the homework, because I started on this business as a music manager on a business side of things, so that I could be a better performer and understand my business. Because if your business is not in order, you're not going to last in this industry, because people will take advantage of you. You will not get what you're worth. And sometimes people are very, you know, modest when it comes to, you know, people asking them, what is your rate? And it's, you know, it's one of those things you don't like to talk about. Oh, my rate is this, but it's just like, this is what you get paid. If you're going to a store and you ask somebody how much his Gatorade is, it's $1.50 or whatever it is. It doesn't change. It may go up later on, but you're not going to come back and say, oh yeah, it's $1. No, you want to start going up on your value. So I always tell people, do the homework and understand your value and create opportunities, so that you don't have to depend on somebody to hire you or give you an opportunity. You create the opportunities for yourself.
Well, I think you're doing a great job, and keep up the great work. And Melvin Jackson Jr., thank you so much for being here today and sharing your experiences in the many areas of entertainment. And thank you especially for being so willing to have the passion to pay it forward to others. So thank you so much for being with us. And to the viewers, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Melvin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.